Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I really thought this was great when I read this from Ohio State football coach Urban Meyer on one of his players. Quote, "He doesn't know the meaning of fear. He doesn't know the meaning of the word. In fact, I just saw his grades, and he doesn't know the meaning of a lot of words." Morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm a proud American, unlike those millionaire crybabies that play football.
We're going to be talking about that in a few minutes, so go ahead with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Doug. I'll be expecting your phone call back in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right now, it's time for the weather to kick things off for a brand new week. And hopefully the weather's going to get a little better this week. K&R Rental, 256 South 600 west of Heyburn, sponsors our weather. They're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. till about 5:30 p.m., waiting to serve you as they have been in business since 1979. Everything from forklifts to lawnmowers. I'll tell you what, they've got it all. Roger and the crew over at K&R Rental in Heyburn. 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
Looks like Mother Nature is going to give us a break and no rain showers for this week, which for me is good news. Here's your weather forecast for today on Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies. High of 61. Going to be a little bit breezy. Not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 38. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 65 with an overnight low of 38. Mostly sunny and 70 for Wednesday. Looks like mid-70s for Thursday and Friday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Ooh, I think Thursday and Friday sounding pretty good. Weather brought to you by some people that really can help you. They've got a huge variety of tools and equipment. Like I said, everything from forklifts all the way to lawnmowers, power tools, you name it. And they can deliver to your site and then come and pick them up, too. Give them a call, 678-3122. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. You stop over and see them today. By the way, got a hunting trip planned? Oh, you do? You got your gun all oiled, you got your ammunition, you've got your hunting license, you've got it all, but you forgot to clean your sleeping bag. There's still the Cheetos and the salsa and everything. Oh, you can't sleep in that thing. You better get it cleaned at Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Yep. And besides that, they can waterproof tents and waterproof clothing. Yeah, Kevin and all the folks over there really serving you at Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good people today. I'm just going to tell you real quick that I want to say thank you to all of the folks that have contributed already to our boots and our gathering of tack for the folks down in the greater Houston area. And it is so appreciated. The folks down there in Texas already are saying thank you for what we're doing up here. And tomorrow we're going to have Hayden Mickelson on the program talking about that first trip down there this last week with the hay and the grain. And I have 3 locations for you to drop off boots and tack. Please, good quality stuff, please. They've lost almost everything down there. We've got a lot of boots already, and thank you very much. Lane over in Rupert at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and the Twist family and Paul and Randy on Overland at Tires West in Burley. And they've got boxes there to help take all the boots and the tack. Please help me out. We're going to be going around this week picking that stuff up from the 3 locations again, and then getting ready for a big delivery in a couple of weeks down in Houston. So thank you very much for helping us out. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had lunch bunch at Denny's restaurant last week. Oh my, was it good? I know I broke down. I did. And I had my strawberries and cream pancakes. I know you're saying, you don't need that, Zeb. Well, I did because I was so hungry and it was so delicious. And you'll love anything there on the breakfast menu, dinner menu, lunch menu, you name it. It is fantastic at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. You stop in and see those really, really good folks today. By the way, too, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to give away 12 cookies if you can answer the trivia contest, so be listening. Ramsey Heating and Electric. I want to remind you they're at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. It looks like we got a little bit of a reprieve from the cold and the wind. We went up on the mountain yesterday on the four-wheelers. Whoa! It was chilly up there with that wind, let me tell you. And it's going to probably tend to be more cooler than it is warmer. So I'll tell you what, for all your heating and electrical needs, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Absolutely. The big story this morning, and I am not going to mince any words on this subject whatsoever. The big story all across the media this morning, a very leftist anti-Trump media, is that President Trump was wrong, and the kneeling, detestable, over 200 players in the NFL were right. That's what's happening in the NFL today. And I'm going to say this right up front before anybody calls me and asks me about it. I am going to tell you what I did. Yesterday, for the very first time in my life, I turned off the Green Bay Packer game. There were 3 Packers that decided to sit during the national anthem. That did it for me. I got up, turned the TV off, and went outside. I cannot abide by the anti-American, anti-respect for our flag that is absolutely being thrown out now by the NFL and its players. And for weak-kneed, gutless Roger Goodell, the commissioner, to absolutely kind of just stand back in the shadows and say, oh, yeah, okay, it's fine, oh, yeah. And the owners the same way, many of them, not all of them. I find it absolutely sickening. Some of the comments were absolutely unbelievable yesterday because of who they worked for. Chris Collinsworth with NBC. Trump should apologize. Oh, by the way, if you're not aware of what he said that the players should be fired. And quite frankly, he added a little color to it. I don't know if that was necessary or not. And he said the SOBs should be fired for not respecting the flag. I agree with the concept. Perhaps the wording I would change. But the blame has been put on Trump. Tony Dungy said, the players need to have their life stories told. Wait a minute, we're talking about millionaires here. I don't care where they came from. I don't care what story they had growing up. Hang on, caller, I'll be there in a minute. We all have stories. All of us have something as adversity in our lives that we had to overcome. But I am sick and tired of these people that are absolutely demonstrating against the flag and our national anthem with a complete lack of respect. I will not stand for them, and I will not give them any credit whatsoever. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You and I are on the same page on this, and I think the NFL, or I should say the TV networks, ratings are down quite a bit. The first 2 weeks, they've had to rebate back several millions of dollars to advertisers that had guaranteed them a certain audience. Well, that rebate's going to get a lot bigger because people like myself that may have watched a little bit of NFL football will be not watching any of it.
Yeah.
And in fact, any of the sponsors of the NFL football need to be contacted and let them know our feelings on this. But the thing I wanted to comment, and I'm sure you will be commenting if you haven't already, is that where did the national anthem come from? You know, Fort McHenry. And right there, you know, in the Baltimore Harbor, and of course the Baltimore Ravens were one of the big protest teams. I bet there isn't one NFL football player has any idea where the national anthem comes from.
Well, wait a minute, Adrian. Hey, wait a minute. Let me jump in here on you.
We got the national anthem. We always do the first verse. You need to do the second and third verses. Really gets into the heart of what this country is about.
I agree.
By them taking a kneel, particularly, they might as well be out there burning that flag because it's basically the same thing.
I agree. I'm going to comment on it further. I'm going to make room for some other callers, but I'm glad you kind of broke the ice on this morning. Thank you for your call, Adrian. We're going to pursue this even more.
Yeah, the Fort McHenry thing, the history of that needs to be brought out. Because
absolutely.
Many brave soldiers, patriots, made sure that flag, and many of them died in the process of holding up that flag. And most people... that's not taught in school. I didn't learn that in school. I learned that through other patriotic sources since then, but I certainly didn't learn it in public schools way back when.
I got to run. I got another call, but I do appreciate yours, Adrian, and I'm going to highlight this for the rest of this hour. Thank you, sir. Caller, I'll be right there in just a minute. We're going to have a lot of calls on this because I'll tell you what, I am going to really, I guess, smash, if you will, any ties with the NFL. I am a dyed-in-the-wool football fan. I am. But this is more than sports. Listen to me very carefully. How can anyone, and think about this, all of you, how can anyone or any person put sports of any type above being a proud American? Think about that. Caller, I'll be right there. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Oh, the kids are back in school, lots of sports going on and everything, and a lot of accidents, a lot of skinned shins and everything else. Well, I'll tell you what, I know a place to go if you're stiff sore, you got recovering from surgery or whatever, and that's Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind anywhere around this area at all. And oh, I've walked a million miles in the bottom of that pool, and it really helps. Great physical therapists that can really help you. I urge you to call today, 678-1191. They can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, want to make a quick note about some really wonderful people. My wife and I went over there and visited with them, and before we started the advertisement on my program, and that's Pomerel Place, a place for senior living. And for those of you out there in the audience that are living at home alone and facing a lot of the risks that seniors face, like isolation and safety hazards, injuries, poor nutrition, hard to make the meals for yourself, missed medication, please consider Pomerel Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Really nice people with great senior living and maintaining your independence at Pomerel Place, a place for senior living in Burley. 677-8212. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, the NFL, which is starting to stand for no fans left, is these people, that's their job, okay? Let's look at it like this. That's their job. So if you worked at, say, some grocery store, some supermarket, some retail store, and you wanted to protest while you were on the job, would you be fired?
Well, yeah,
most people would be.
Absolutely. Doug, here's some points of interest that a lot of people are glossing over, and Wheels ride the gain on the feedback. That this is a privately owned team. Any of them are, whether it's Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys or whomever it is. That is a private ownership. And, quite frankly, these players are playing on private property. So, do they have any right to be told that they have to stand for the anthem? You darn betcha. And I honestly don't understand why there can't be more of a power play from the owners to the players. And the reason there isn't going to be is because right now they're cowards. Political correctness has taken over, and these people are cowards.
They are. But they're going to be cowards with a pocketbook that's going to be a lot lighter. Because I'll guarantee you what, they have woken the masses. I was noticing on social media over the weekend, and I'll bet you 9 out of 10 comments I've heard have say we're turning it off.
Yeah,
Doug, start standing, we're done.
Doug, you know, you've known and been a friend of mine for many, many years. And you know how avid I am as a football fan for the Green Bay Packers. I lived back there. I knew the old Packers back in the 60s, the Bart Starrs and the Jim Taylors and the Paul Hornings and the Bob Skoronskis. I knew those guys. Jerry Kramer's been on my program. And I just absolutely never missed a game. I mean, I would go anywhere, do anything to make sure that if I couldn't be at the game, I was going to watch it on TV. Yesterday, for the first time, Doug, my dear friend, I turned it off.
I don't blame you. I turned it off yesterday. I never even glanced across the team. I never even clicked on to see what was going on. I just went by. I went and watched some other stuff. We done some canning yesterday, so I kept myself busy. I'm going to find other things to watch.
Did you know
they're protesting the national anthem for what?
Yeah, for what? There's the question, the great big TV quiz show question. For what? You know, I'm going to come out and say this, and I'm going to be called a racist by those that have the brain of a dim bulb. But, you know, of all the blacks that are kneeling on the sidelines, my goodness sakes, they should be on both knees instead of one, with their hands folded and giving praise to God Almighty above that they live in this country and have the opportunity to be millionaires.
Yes, let them disrespect the national anthem and the flag in, say, North Korea, China, or Russia, and see what they get.
A bullet to the head.
They'll get a bullet to the head. We're the only country that allow people to disrespect it. Well, if they don't like it, if they don't like America and what the flag stands for and what the national anthem stands for, buy a one-way ticket someplace where you will appreciate that government.
Yeah, I want to just share with you before I take the next phone call. Hold on, caller. Did you know that most of the NFL and the owners and the building of these stadiums, they get government subsidies for the building of those stadiums. And also, that happens to be our money. And then they get, in the communities that they have these stadiums, they get huge tax deductions. So, you know what? The rest of us taxpayers, we should start demanding that these athletes stand because we're their boss.
Well, if they're not going to stand, then let's cut everything off.
Bingo.
Cut the tax relief off. Let's cut the benefits off. It's like tax dollars paying for abortion. I don't want it to go there. You don't want it to go there.
There you go. Doug, always appreciate your comments. Thank you so much. Thank you.
God bless America.
And that is the fact. Caller, I'm going to be right with you. You're going to have to bear with me just a little bit. I got to get some things on here. First of all, I want to talk about Scott Gano and, of course, tree trimming at this time of the year. It's very important. You do not want to have a great big old tree limb sailing through your big bay window this winter. So make sure you get all your trimming done, your pruning done. And by the way, it's time to think if you want to put a new sprinkler system in for next year or fixing the old one, yep, better do it right now. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service at 336 South, 450 West of Paul. The numbers to call, 438-2485, 431-8733. You call them today. Absolutely the best. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. You stop in or give them a call. Let's see, what else have I got real quick before I have to go to the next caller. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Thank you for your call.
Good morning, Zev.
Yes.
You know, the first thing I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to go out and put up my flag. And I hope that somebody will ask me why I'm flying the flag. And I'm going to tell them how I feel about this NFL and all these other people that disrespect our flag. And I'll try to do that every day. And I would encourage our listening audience to do the same and tell them why we're doing it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I fly the flag every day here at my place. And in my office, I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, you think you're so much better. No, it's just the way I feel. God blessed me by letting me be born in this great country, the United States of America. Yeah, I've had a lot of problems. Yeah, I've had a lot of health problems. Yeah, I've had a lot of issues I had to overcome, which again makes me even more thankful that I live here in the United States of America. And when I see these athletes take a knee, and by the way, there are millionaires that are doing this, maybe averaging about $300,000 and some $1,000 in some cases per game. I absolutely have no respect for these people, and I will do anything I can to go along with President Trump and see them have the doorknob hit them in the butt on the way out because they are fired. I can't stand this attitude.
Well, I think this is the time for boycotting. I don't believe in it myself because I don't like to see people suffer. But if people will not buy the products that the NFL advertises, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Well,
because without those advertisers, they have nothing.
I'm not a big favor of boycotts, but I'm a big favor of making people be aware and cognizant and raise their intelligence level and look in the mirror and see how stupid they have been. And I'm hoping the NFL players can do this. Keith, God bless you for your thoughts. Put that flag up. Salute it, buddy. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, we want to talk about some really, really good folks right now, and that's Dino's, oh my goodness sakes, in Rupert. Septic tanks, they can pump them out. Septic tanks and drain fields installed. They've got a great backhoe service. They put in water and sewer lines installed. And then, of course, sewer and sink drains lined and cleaned. And that comes up to the point of Smells Cargo. I love the slogan on the side of their truck. And they are fast, they are fair, they're friendly service. We've used them, and they are excellent. In Rupert, call 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Ha! Smells Cargo on the way to serve you. Call Dino Septic Service today. That number again in Rupert, 436-6526. In Burley, 678-1636. They are the best. We're going to give away, Wheels, do we have another caller waiting, by the way?
Oh, no, you're good, sir.
Okay, we're going to give away some cookies real quick. And I'm going to ask a fairly easy question this morning. And if you can answer it, you're going to win a dozen cookies from our dear friends over at Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. And I want to get through this relatively quick because I got a lot of things to cover this morning. Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. If you're hungry, they've got a great, great restaurant. If you want to have some cookies or some pies, or, oh my goodness, they got a bakery over there, delicious. And we're going to give away a dozen cookies right now. The old Cisco Kid TV series. The Cisco Kid. What color was his horse, Diablo? What color was the Cisco Kid's horse, Diablo? Give me a call quickly at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What color was the Cisco Kid's horse, Diablo? That was the horse's name. And quickly give me a call. The old Cisco Kid TV series on Saturday mornings. Hey, Pancho! Hey, Cisco! What color was Cisco Kid's horse, Diablo? Quickly, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to be talking in a moment after we get the answer to our cookies about one player, one NFL player for the Pittsburgh Steelers that showed me a lot of guts and a lot of patriotism. We're going to talk about him in just a moment. Don't go away. Also, quickly, while you're thinking about what color was the Cisco Kid's truck, I want to tell you, truck. I like that mistake. Cisco Kid's horse. I looked at the word truck, and I really messed that up. The Cisco Kid's horse. Don't forget Scott Jackson Trucking, and they're located over in Jerome. Caller, I'll be right there. They are the industry experts, and I'll tell you what, fully licensed and insured to haul all over the Pacific Northwest and Canada. They need some more people, and you can be a part of the Scott Jackson Trucking family. All you need to do is call them at 324-3004. That number again, 324-3004, and the best of very competitive wage, jobs, benefits. You better give them a call today, 324-3004, Scott Jackson Trucking in Jerome. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I believe the horse was a black and white paint.
You know what? What's your name?
Delray Heward.
Delray Heward, you have just won yourself a dozen delicious cookies at Sophie's. You call them and tell them when you're going to be there. They'll have them ready for you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Congratulations. And it's nice. Delray, are you still there?
Yes.
How old are you?
Yes.
How old are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
How old are you?
I'm 65.
Well, I'm 69, and it's nice to talk to somebody that remembers way back then. Thank you for calling. Have a good day, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. He was a black and white Pinto or paint, whichever would have been acceptable. And that was Diablo. Thank you very much. One player. I want to highlight this because it needs to be said. One player defied his team. One player defied his coach and walked out of the locker room and walked down the tunnel and stood at the edge of the field with his hand over his heart, with tears in his eyes as they sang the national anthem. That one player was Alejandro Villanueva from the Pittsburgh Steelers. One player. His coach had made an edict. Mike Tomlin had said, no, nobody goes out. We're not going to have any more problems. Everybody stays in the locker room. And Villanueva A former Army Ranger who served 3 tours in Afghanistan was the only player that walked out of the tunnel and stood there in honor of our national anthem. God bless him. He might be in trouble with the Steelers. He might be in trouble with Tomlin, by the way, who was a black coach. But I absolutely stand and salute Alejandro Villanueva for what he did yesterday. He showed class, he showed patriotism, and he showed guts. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I am very saddened for all of this because of those football players. And I love watching football. And my dad brought us up loving to watch football. And he was a Second World War veteran who would have given his life for those kids to get that ability to take a knee. But you know what? They are so dang spoiled, they have forgotten what really has made it possible for them to be able to take a knee, but it's not right.
You know something, Chris? Some of the comments that were made by some of the commentators on the football broadcast, I just sat there and I marveled as to really how their hands are tied behind them because of the people that employ them, the networks. And stupid statements. You know, well, if we only knew all the stories about how hard they've had it during their childhood, etc. Wait a minute! What about all the soldiers that gave their blood, sweat, tears, and their lives so that they could play football for million-dollar contracts? I don't have sympathy for anybody except our soldiers, our policemen, etc. I'm not going to worry about somebody's conditions growing up. I had tough conditions growing up. Many people had tough conditions growing up. Get over it, get to work, and make this world a better place.
Well, and how many of them are giving back, donating, making things better for all kids in their community? Or are they just holding their money to their pocket and puffing up their chest and saying, it's mine, I deserve it?
Just tell me, please, how many thousands and thousands of dollars did Colin Kaepernick, the originator of this problem, for which I condemn him even more, how much has he done for the inner cities? What has he done for blacks going to college? What has he done for anybody else that he says is oppressed? Not one darn thing.
No, what he has done is given them the right, or they think, to act like him because he's some kind of a superstar. And now then, they're dividing our country again. And you know what? That's what bothers me, is when our country, that is so great, and we honor all people, now they're bringing around the divide again.
I was so mad when I heard about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Baltimore Ravens playing over in London's Wembley Stadium yesterday. It was part of the continuing over the many years for the NFL to go over and put on one of their games over there. And the players took a knee during our national anthem, but these nincompoops stood for the United Kingdom, God Save the Queen. Chris, this is insane.
Well, they're getting the attention that they want. And Americans have a way of letting them know how we feel about it. Forget spending money on going to see their games.
Well,
and I would think that the networks are going to start losing money too.
Well, I was really down yesterday on Chris Collinsworth. I've had a lot of respect for him when he was a player and also as a commentator. But when he made the comment that Trump should apologize, wait a minute. Donald Trump said exactly what I said 10 days ago on this program, and I've got it in the archives, and I can prove it. I said that these players are playing for a business. These players have to adhere to the rules and regulatory means of that business. Anybody that doesn't want to do that is fired. Well, Trump came out and said it in more colorful terms, but absolutely I agree with him. And for the others on the left trying to turn this into an anti-Donald Trump thing, this is insane.
Well, and do you know what? They think that they're going to cause him to retire. I don't think that Donald Trump is worried about it. And as an American, I'd vote for him again.
Well, I tell you what, this situation is not going to go away anytime soon. After everything that happened over the weekend, I'm just really afraid as to what might happen tonight at Monday Night Football. But I'm telling you, NASCAR, I'm sure you've heard of NASCAR. They made an edict yesterday, and they said if any of their drivers is kneeling or sitting during the national anthem, they will be fired. God bless NASCAR. That's the attitude that should happen.
Well, and that's what the big football owners need to do, too, because every dollar those people earn, or supposedly earn, has the motto of the USA on it, and they are gladly accepting those dollars. So let's just cut their dollars real low.
I'm just not going to ever pick up on the left liberal slant. Oh, these poor players, they've gone through so much in their lives to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that garbage. Chris, God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm not going to play in that Monopoly game. Everybody has a cross to bear. I mean, I don't care who it is. Every one of my listeners right now, every one of you, you have a story to tell. You might have had something happen as a small child. You might have had something happen to you as a teenager, or to your family, or later on in life. We all have crosses to bear. But it's how we stand up, literally, and attack the problem and overcome the problem that makes, I think, us better people. But to hear these people say, oh, I had it so bad when I was a child, I grew up in the slums and all that. Fine. I'm sorry that you had to be brought up that way, but now you have a multi-million-dollar contract to play football. No other country in the world would afford you that. But yet you take that contract for millions of dollars and trash it because you defy the patriotism of the United States of America. I have no feelings for you other than I agree with Trump. I would fire you. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Calls are welcome. You know, really, this isn't a football issue. This is a patriotism issue. This is love of country issue. And respect, which I don't think they have, for the people that have put their lives on the line for them. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Absolutely, they've got all the bobcats over there. You don't know how to run one? Well, go out in the great big sandbox out behind, and they will teach you. Absolutely. All the equipment rentals, all the retail equipment sales, everything right there for you. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. Barry Equipment and Rental, Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, real quick, don't forget our friends Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, all teamed up to make you feel good on the inside of your home with indoor comfort for this fall and winter. And you might be getting up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. Find out how. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, going back to Alejandro Villanueva for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he walked out of that tunnel. He stood there on the edge of that field, and he stood as straight as an arrow and honored our flag, honored our Pledge of Allegiance. And Mike Tomlin, I'm sure you know what's going to hit the fan today when they get together at the training facility. But I salute Villanueva for standing against his coach and the rest of his players. Villanueva, by the way, played in college at the United States Military Academy before he went on to become an Army Ranger. He served 3 tours in Afghanistan and was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for Valor. And now he is playing pro ball for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I wish there were literally thousands more Alejandro Villanuevas. I could be very proud of them. And then once again, I could be very proud of the NFL. I'm not now. I don't think any of us should be. This is a tragedy that is making its mark on our youngsters. Last week I commented about the 8-year-olds that in a football team, Pee Wee Football League back in St. Louis, they decided they were going to take a knee during the national anthem. Oh, the parents, they were so proud. The coach helped them. This is absolutely despicable. Caller quickly, and then I've got to do a weather forecast. Go, please.
Okay, I just agree with everything you've said, but I think that we agree that they have the right to do whatever they want, but they don't have the right to the consequences to those actions. And I personally would rather hear about the people like you just talked about, the young man who went out and stood for the national anthem. The other ones, I don't think their names should ever be said publicly because that's what they want. They want recognition for their bad behavior, and I don't think we should give it to them.
Well, I agree with you up to a point, but I think that by my pointing my finger and saying who some of these people are, like the Bennett boys that play for Seattle and one plays for Green Bay, I'm absolutely denouncing them. And quite frankly, my dear, let me throw this at you. I'm going to sound like a racist, I'm going to sound like a bigot, and I'm going to sound like a hate monger, but I'm going to lay the chips out there on the table face up. The problem is primarily with the black players. I'm all in favor of trying to rectify any wrongdoings from the past and make the future better. But all of us have got holes in our screen door. All of us had to overcome problems, and I'm sick and tired of the whining when these people are millionaires.
Exactly, because they should be a good example for the young people. And all they're doing is setting a bad example, because now young people are like, oh, I can whine and complain, I can do whatever I want, and it's okay.
Amen. I don't recognize your voice. I don't think you've ever called before, but I'm going to ask you to please call more often. I appreciate it, and I found your comments really spot on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Absolutely the best, the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho with Dr. Christine Pickup. I am amazed that this lady knows so much about hearing and about all the tools and techniques that can enhance communication with your hearing if you have a problem. Please get a hold of her today, 312-0957. Right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's the weather.
Looks like Mother Nature is going to give us a break and no rain showers for this week, which for me is good news. Here's your weather forecast for today on Zebeth Ranch. Mostly sunny skies. High of 61. Going to be a little bit breezy. Not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 38. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 65 with an overnight low of 38. Mostly sunny and 70 for Wednesday. Looks like mid-70s for Thursday and Friday. That's your weather for Zep at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And wonderful, wonderful people over there serving you. Be sure and call for a hearing screening today if you've noticed some diminishment in your hearing. They can help. They will help. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. You call her today. Calls are welcome, 441-866-927-4587. I want to say this question again. I was thinking about this morning when I was writing up some of my notes. How can anyone put sports of any type over being a proud American? I don't care if it's football, baseball, basketball. By the way, the Warriors last year won the world title, this spring, I should say. And they were invited to the White House, and they're basically a left-leaning team, and they've decided not to go and represent their team with an honoring at the White House. And because why? They don't like Donald Trump. Everything seems to have a anti-Trump twist to it, including what's happening with the football players taking a knee during the national anthem. Let's try to understand that this mess started with the Obama administration in charge, with Colin Kaepernick creating the problem. But now it seems like what I heard yesterday with the Chris Collinsworths and others, they're trying to make this a Trump problem. He didn't cause the problem. He didn't start the problem. He didn't exacerbate the problem. But now, during his administration, they're pushing that envelope. We need to take our values and put back and implement our values that made this country great. The left, honestly, think about it. They've tried to take the values, the family values, the moral values, and throw them in the trash. Now, they're also working on taking God, the Bible, and all of us that are Christians and throwing us in the trash. And now they're creating an aura of, oh, come on, it's only the national anthem. You don't have to stand for that. Oh, come on. They're trashing everything that this country should be standing for. And I want to say it again. I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I could never get into it like a lot of people do, but I absolutely applaud NASCAR. Because they came out and said any doggone driver that sits or kneels during the national anthem, all you're going to drive is a Volkswagen home. I love that attitude. And that's what should be happening in the NFL. Calls are welcome. I've got time for another call. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to mention to you about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with a huge fall tire sale going on right now. Doing the right thing matters, and it always matters at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I mean, we're talking great tires that are on sale for your fall and winter driving. Better get in there. And, of course, the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts. Have you had your battery checked to make sure that it's going to be starting your vehicle in the cold days ahead? Well, they've got the best in batteries, too. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, I tell you what, this issue, I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. I really don't know. But caller, maybe you've got an idea. Quickly, I've got about a minute and a half left. Go ahead.
Yeah, what in the world are we going to do if these high school kids at football start to take the kneel? I mean, we live in a pretty conservative area, I think, but this thing is becoming so widespread that I fear for our nation.
I don't think that coaches that would allow such a thing to happen should even retain their jobs. We are trying to bring up young Americans. We are trying to teach in school the value of citizenship to this great country, our Constitution, everything else that has made this country great for over 230 years. And for any high school coach that would allow the slovenly sit on the bench, kneel during the national anthem, that coach should lose his job. That coach should walk over to that player, grab him by the front of the jersey, jerk him to his feet, tell him to stand at attention. That's the way America is. I absolutely will not stand for this.
Amen, America, or Zeb, because this is America. We do have a choice, but we don't need somebody showing us that. You know, in these situations, it's always one person like Caleb Pectate that started this whole thing, just looking for the spotlight.
Yeah, everybody's so concerned. Keith,
just put all this aside and have America the way it should be.
Absolutely. Everybody's so concerned about political correctness. Everybody's so concerned about their First Amendment rights. Hey, listen, there's rules and regulations for everything. On that team, you do as the coach says and or the owner. That's the way it is. I got to run to the news. Keith, thank you so much. All right. We're going to take about a 7-minute break, and you'll hear more about this during CBS News, I'm sure. And then guess who's back at 9:06? Yup. Frosty Woolridge. Don't go away. Oh, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to our program on behalf of our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a big fall tire sale right now, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal, how true. Hey, by the way, all the dumpsters in the various sizes, you can clean out your garage, you can clean out your basement, I can clean out my office. Better get a big one. I'll tell you what, order the dumpster, they'll put it on your property, fill it up, they'll come and get it. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. By the way, too, we got to make plans to stay warm and comfy inside this winter. Well, you better check it out at Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox with their home comfort systems. You can qualify possibly for up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. You call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. We're going to have a very special homecoming in just a moment. Stand by, but first and foremost, want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. Always serving you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one with the absolute highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They care. And they are there to serve you. And they can come to your home or the rural areas and help you right there. Please call them today, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And they really care. I can't say enough about this man as a friend because we've been friends for many, many years, and I got to tell you that he took off during the summer months to have another great big huge bicycle trip around America, and he was sorely missed, and I say a resounding welcome back to my buddy Frosty Woolridge.
And good morning, Zeb. It's just a pleasure to be back with you, and after, 5 months on the road, I have to admit that I have to change gears here from sleeping in a tent and looking at the stars every night or the rain to sleeping in a bed and becoming a normal person again. But I can tell you, it was a fantastic journey, 11,000 miles on motorcycle all the way to the Arctic Circle in Alaska with amazing grizzly bears, black bears, moose, every kind of wildlife, whales on the way back on the Haines, Alaska to Prince Rupert. Saw Wales and you name it. It was just fantastic. And then, of course, the 4,100-mile bicycle ride from Astoria, Oregon, on the northern tier Transamerica, all the way to Bar Harbor, Maine. And then when I got back from that, I did a portion of the Colorado Trail backpacking, and my spirits refreshed. I interviewed hundreds of people along the way. My latest piece is now in newswithviews.com. It's a letter to Colin Kaepernick, the football player who has really created a revolution of disrespect toward the American flag, the U.S. Constitution, and the people of America. And the title of it is, Dear Colin Kaepernick, America's Spoiled Brat. And what I talk about is your disrespect for our country's flag demands deeper inspection, wider understanding, and a greater comprehension of its significance to our nation. Ultimately, when enough people dishonor their country, disobey its laws, or do not participate in its most honored traditions, that society faces ultimate disintegration.
Absolutely.
And I go on from there to explain exactly what I'm talking about. I think each person listening across the nation, and I'm getting dozens of emails back right now because it's already been published on 20 different news service websites, and I just put down in words what everybody's feeling. We're sick and tired of million-dollar athletes disrespecting the flag that allows them to play and make so much money while we sit here and take their disrespect. So anyway, I hope everybody gets to read that today and takes action on it.
I have it in my hand, and I praise you for what you said and how you said it, but I want to kind of dissect this problem a little bit with you on the air this morning. I spent the entire first hour with my open forum talking about this, and I'm going to say things, and if they are offensive to some people, so be it, because I'm going to be blunt and honest. This problem absolutely is being exacerbated by millionaire players that make probably $200,000 to $300,000 per game, and they're sitting or kneeling during our national anthem. And they are destroying the value system in America for our youngsters. They're destroying the value system in America for all of those that have put their lives on the line, blood, sweat, and tear, and lives in foreign countries fighting for this country. And also with Kaepernick, when he wore the socks showing the policemen as pigs, it's a disintegration of value and respect for our police in this country. I applaud you for your work, and I hope it goes further.
Well, I hope so also. The key for me is to bring some balance to the extremism of a Colin Kaepernick, because now he's got all of these other players who, quite frankly, if they lived in places like Somalia or Sudan or the Congo or Pakistan or Mexico or Venezuela and other failed countries around the globe, they would be fighting for food. And as a matter of fact, at the end of the article, it's a 10-minute video showing Lagos, an African area where literally it's got 13 million people, and virtually all of them are starving to death daily. They live in utter squalor, and it gives you an understanding. And the fact is, right now, the UN predicted or projected that 100 million people would move to America this week if they were given a ticket. 100 million, and then another 100 million after that, because this country has food for its citizens, it has freedom for its citizens, and it respects all races, all colors, and all ethnic groups as guaranteed by the Constitution. You don't have that in all these other places. And so these football players, if it wasn't for America, they would be living in poverty and misery back in their home continent of Africa, and yet they don't have any understanding or appreciation what their good fortune is, but rather would tear it down. And if they tore it down, what would they have? They would have anarchy in the streets, and we would have a disintegrating nation, and that's got to stop at some point. And I don't know exactly at this point how to stop it, but it's got to cease, or we're going to find ourselves in a lot of trouble as we proceed down this path.
Well, Frosty, let's just kind of bare our chest here a little bit how we feel. I said last hour, and I'm going to stand behind this, that I absolutely have no respect for NBC's Chris Collinsworth yesterday saying that Donald Trump should apologize for saying the football players should be fired. They should be fired. I said that 10 days ago. Tony Dungy said the players need to have their life stories told, and then we'd have sympathy for where they came from. Wait a minute. I've had a lot of problems in my life, a lot of health problems. You have to fight to overcome them. We all have our crosses to bear. You've had your problems. Everybody does. I'm not going to sit there and listen to $1 million athletes sitting there complaining about, oh, we had it so rough in the slums. Maybe you did. But you know something? Now that you're a millionaire, fight to eradicate the slums and get people to work and better their situation. I am not going to be compelled to follow like Chris Collinsworth and Tony Dungy saying, oh, these poor athletes.
In total agreement with you, and I'll stand with you side by side, shoulder to shoulder on this thing, Zeb, because these athletes are living $1 million lives. They have virtually been paid unbelievable amounts of money to play a game. They're all literally privileged, and you could call it black privilege because about 90% of the NFL, I think it's 87% of the NFL is black.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like 95% or even higher of the NBA is
That's
black.
Right.
None of these people are suffering, and in life, everybody has a story. And you could tell your story, I could tell my story, and we're not getting any sympathy from anybody. And I'm certainly, Chris Collinsworth and Tony Dungy live extraordinary lives of financial abundance beyond anything that any of us and most normal Americans can even imagine. And for them to sit up there and talk like that, they are really disregarding the average American citizen. And in reality, we could do without the NFL. It's an entertainment. That's all it is. It doesn't move this country forward. As I said in my piece, the real workers that move America forward are the nurses and the truck drivers and every person who has a job that literally makes the country work. Entertainment, such as entertainers who are really crying about everything in this country, they don't do anything that produces goods. It's the construction workers. It's the clerks. It's the nurses. It's the lumberjacks. It's the farmers. It's the waitresses and other persons who produce goods and services that make our society work. So I really don't have any sympathy for people making, and I looked this up. The average NFL player makes $1.9 million a year. So cry me a river of tears that you had it so tough. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. And the same goes for all of these Whoopi Goldberg or Madonna who wants to blow up the White House, or Angelina Jolie who condemns everything about America, and even Obama when he was going for president. I mean, here he is crying, and he's got the race card and all this. We elected a man who's black, or at least he's mulatto, half black, half white, into the White House. And the fact is, we suffered 500,000 plus lives in the Civil War, and they were all white. Almost all of them were white. To free the world of slavery. That's what this country's brought. And so these black athletes should be down on both of their knees, praising and thanking God for the fact that they live in America. I mean, am I right or am I right?
Absolutely. And here's something else. There was one player yesterday that had the backbone and the spine, and it brought tears to my eyes. And that man was Alejandro Villanueva from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was told by his coach to stay in the locker room. He did not. He is a former Army Ranger. He walked out of the locker room, walked down the tunnel, and stood on the edge of the field with his hand over his heart. And he saluted our great flag and our national anthem. He was an Army Ranger that served 3 tours in Afghanistan and was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for Valor. I applaud him for having the guts to stand against the weakness of the NFL.
And I wish I could shake that man's hand because Army Ranger, a U.S. Army officer, a man who stands for his country, stood for his country, and served his country, he understands the importance of that flag. And the fact is, Colin Kaepernick and all those guys that are kneeling, they don't have any understanding of what it took to serve this country, and all those men and women who have died over the last 240 years to create the flag, to maintain the flag, and to maintain and sustain the U.S. Constitution. Literally, if I was a coach or if I was a Goodall at the head of the NFL, I would recommend firing every one of those players who sits on their knees, which in essence is just literally squashing the U.S. Constitution and degrading Old Glory. And I won't be a part of that. I can tell you this right now. As an American citizen myself, I am boycotting the NFL. They're not going to see me. I'm not going to watch a TV program. I'm not going to go to the games. I'm not going to be a part of this degrading the United States of America, Old Glory, and our Constitution. I'm sorry. These boys that are putting down their knees and degrading the U.S. Constitution and Old Glory and our national anthem need to be fired. If they're going to do this, they need to do it in their own locker room, or just move out of the country and go over to Africa or go over to Mexico, go to some place where they would really find out what it's like not to be an American.
Absolutely.
That's my sentiments on that.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, go ahead, please.
Well, a year ago, I went to the Charlotte Vikings game in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Black Lives Matter was outside the stadium, and they were raising hell. I went over and asked them and tried to talk to them, but mostly I got yelled at. But there were 70,000 people in the stadium and all around the stadium, and then, believe me, there was plenty of black people there that weren't concerned about Black Lives Matter, didn't feel they were oppressed, and you see, this minority is wagging the dog, but you see, when we as patriots ignore the realities and the blessings that we have, we are irresponsible, and in some respects, because we have kept our mouths shut and no action, we are to blame too. I'll hang up.
Respond to that, because I think he's 100% spot on.
Well, he is. We've been cowering for the last 15, 20 years on this whole Black Lives Matter thing. But I'm sorry, when the Black Lives Matter go down the street and say, kill a cop, when? Now. Or their other chant is, what's good about dead cop number 10? Dead cop number 11. Unquote. Those are quotes of the Black Lives Matter people. These people would choose anarchy over a civil society. I mean zero. If I was a police commissioner, I'd arrest every single one of these people for sedition. They are sedition-oriented people, and they would destroy the U.S. Constitution and all of our freedoms. I would love to put them all in jail or send them back to Africa, where they would have wonderful lives, and they could live wonderful lives on their own continent, and they could choose Sudan, or they could choose where they'd be starving to death, or they could choose Ethiopia, or the women could choose Congo, which is the rape capital of the world. Yeah, go back there and find out how nice it is as far as Black Lives Matter. And I'd also like to see Black Lives Matter people start working toward their own killings of their own people, because black people in this country kill black people to the tune of over 6,000 a year. That's correct. You can look it up. 6,000 blacks kill 6,000 blacks every year, whereas a few police officers are killing some of these blacks, like Michael Brown, who just stole and robbed a convenience store, and then charged the black-white officer, and then the white officer becomes literally guilty of everything and ruined his life. And Michael, whatever he was, whether it was Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown, these were thugs that were going to be in prison or get killed anyway, no matter what. It was just a matter of time. I mean, am I right or am I right on this? These are the facts we're facing, and white people in this country, and all Americans, black and white and Hispanic, better get it clear that we were living in a spectacular society, and it only functions when all of the citizens stand up for the right, stand up for the Constitution, and stand up for our society rather than take a knee.
And what you said, I'm going to stand behind because, I don't care what race, ethnicity, whatever. There are so many good people that are just frustrated and mad at the minorities taking over and representing them. I say to those people, then you put down the negative effect and start to be more positive. We've got to get back to a value system in this country. And Frosty, how could anyone, here's my question to you, and I know the answer already because I know you well enough. How could anyone put sports of any type, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, it doesn't make any difference. How can anyone put sports of any type over being a proud American? This is insane.
Well, it truly is. And one of the things, I want to call out CNN and guys like Anderson Cooper, even Jake Tapper, and a few of these other characters out there. They're hyping the white supremacists and the white nationalists. The reality is they're giving an extraordinary platform to 0.000000001 of numbers of people, like the white nationalists or the white supremacists or whatever. Those people are, again, 0.00000, 1,000 zeros, one in numbers, and yet all of a sudden you think they're taking over the country. I mean, it's just absurd what the liberal mainstream media is doing to hype things, and they literally are fake news. I'd like to take CNN and just give them a reality check, because they're the ones and all these others who are giving all of this energy to these bad people when we are the American people. And as I rode my bicycle 4,000 miles across America this summer, this country is good. People are good. They're kind. I get smiles from black people, Hispanic people, and white people on my bicycle. They support me. They come up and want to talk to me. This country's good. We need to accent it, but we also, at the same time, we need to ensure that our citizens are supportive of the flag, supportive of this country, and that these athletes, I'm serious, these coaches ought to fire these guys, because they really need to do their work. If they want to go against something, do it on their own time, do it on private time, do it on interviews, but don't do it in front of all of us and all of the veterans of this country who have served this country, that watch football games or watch basketball games or watch baseball games. It's the wrong place to do it. Do it on your own time. Don't do it on our time. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see the degradation of our country, of our flag, and our Constitution. And I'll bet you, I'm speaking, but the majority of Americans, we're sick and tired of this kind of behavior. We demand that people and citizens and athletes respect our country, our flag, and our Constitution, because it's what makes this country fantastic to live in, thrive in, and be able to express yourself in. That's the way this country is. These black athletes and any athletes that kneel, again, as I said, should get down on both knees and thank God that they have the U.S. Constitution, our flag, and this country to live in.
All I can say is this to my dear friend in Golden, Colorado: welcome back. You have been sorely missed, and I'll look forward to next Monday. We have an endless supply of topics to talk about. God bless you, Frosty Woldridge, and I'll see you next Monday morning.
Thank you, Zeb. Godspeed, my friend.
All right. Good to have him back. Honest approach to what's going on. We're not going to pull any punches. We're going to tell it like it is, and I respect that. I know somebody else that's going to tell it like it is, and that's Scott Jackson Trucking over in Jerome. You know, they really have a family. That's right, and they want you, with the opportunities that have availed themselves, to be a part of their Scott Jackson Trucking family. That's right. They've got very competitive wage jobs available, great benefit programs, and they don't lay off in the so-called slow seasons. Join the team of professionals. Scott Jackson Trucking in Jerome. The number to call, 324-3004. That number again, 324-3004. Give them a call today and join the Scott Jackson Trucking family. Excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat this morning. Oh, I want to also quickly just tell you, about a very dear friend of ours that is wonderful, just wonderful, and that's Nathan Harris with Harris Plumbing NG. Wow, in Burley. What a job they do. You know, we call them, and one call, that's all. They're here on the job. And for all your plumbing service needs, Harris Plumbing NG, they are the best. The number to call, 431-8633. Absolutely get the job done right. A dedication to perfection. I am high on these folks. Harris Plumbing NG. Call them today, 431-8633 in Burley. Nathan Harris, Harris Plumbing NG. We're going to have our next guest on the phone with us momentarily. And let's see, we got a busy week coming up, too. Thursday, I'm going to be gone. I have to run and take care of some, let's just say, doctor problems, and we're going to be gone. Sharon Hardy Mills is going to sit in for us. Don't forget, Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert, between Rupert and the world. I mean, holy smokes. They've got a great service department over there. Tyson, if you're listening, I really appreciate everything you do. And they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. And they've got the brand new, I know you don't like this word, but it's true, snowmobiles over there. And for those of us that want to get outside and have some fun in the winter, oh boy, that's the place to go. They got all the snow machines. They've got all the 4x4s. They've got all the great big side-by-sides. I'm telling you, get out and enjoy the beautiful, beautiful fall here in Idaho. Thanks to our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. It's true. This is where the fun is sold. Absolutely. And over in that same neck of the woods or part of the desert, don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment, and I urge you to do so, 436-4424. They are the best with life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits for you, your family, and your business. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. I don't believe I've ever had this man on my program before, but I'm really looking forward to talking to him this morning. And we say a good morning to Brad Owens, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me this morning.
You know, Brad, you've got quite a story to tell, and it kind of rekindles the fire about Benghazi. And I'd like to hear from you because you were on the ground in Benghazi, so there's nobody I trust more than your words about what really happened over there.
Well, I appreciate that. What's rekindled this is it was the 5-year anniversary of the attacks on the Benghazi compound where Ambassador Stevens, Smith, Woods, and Dougherty lost their lives. And I work for a company called Torres AES, Torres Advanced Enterprise Solutions, which is a large, smaller but larger defense contractor, private military, private security company. And we provide armed and unarmed security around the world to the Department of State, DOD, and, we pretty large company. We've got about 6,000 employees that we have worldwide that do guarding for us. I was, in fact, on the compound in Benghazi 6 months before the attacks. We had been in Libya since the middle of 2011, right about the fall of Tripoli. I took a team in. My background is I'm former military intelligence. I spent 25 years in the U.S. Army and Army Reserves, and mostly would support the special operations. And Jerry Torres founded Torres AES. He's a Green Beret and with combat service in Afghanistan, Iraq, Horn of Africa, and other places in South America. So part of my job was to do, I was the African operations manager, the business development guy. So I took a team into Libya because in post-conflict zones there's always a need for folks like us to support what's going on. The tender for the Benghazi compound, we were told, folks need to remember, it's hard to remember if you weren't involved, but toward the second half of 2011, after Gaddafi was killed and his son was captured, the security situation in Libya began to deteriorate rather rapidly. the Katibas, which are militias, is their name for militias, had begun fighting each other over power, kidnapping each other's ministers, and even attacking some foreign missions, such as the UK mission that was there. So the way this was explained to us was this was a fallback consulate position. In case they had to evacuate Tripoli, they would still be able to have a diplomatic mission in the country. So I visited the compound. They put the request for proposals out in February of 2012, and so I visited the compound there where the four gentlemen were killed, unfortunately, and that gives us an opportunity to see physically what we have to guard, and so we can write our technical proposal appropriately. We were the sole company that tendered for it at the time. We had a local partner. There was only 3 security companies in Libya before the regime fell, and one survived, and it was because it was not related to the regime. It was a hotel real estate developer named Mohammed Nas, who had 3 luxury hotels there in Tripoli, and he had his own security company to guard his hotels, is what it was. It's called Atlas Security. So we did a teaming agreement with them so we would be legal to operate inside of Libya. So we tendered for it, and the contracting department, which is called AQM, which is Acquisitions Management, excuse me, SAFE in Roslyn, Virginia, Cubicle in Roslyn, Virginia, kicked it back and said they had to have at least one other bid. A British company registered in Wales also put an offer in on the second bid and beat us by 4 percentage points. As an American company, we're supposed to have a 10-point bid advantage over foreign firms, but the contracting officers again said that they had discretion, which they do not in law, but said they had discretion to apply it. So they awarded it to this teeny tiny company. Now, we had done probably 49 at that point, 49 different contracts with DOD, DOS, and other government agencies in high-threat areas all the way to benign postings. So we had a tremendous past performance with the federal government. We currently have, I think, 9 or 12 embassies right now, and it fluctuates depending on the bid processes. So we had a lot of experience with this. The other company that won was called Blue Mountain Group, and they did not have experience. As a matter of fact, we can't find where they've executed one successful contract before the Benghazi contract was awarded to them by our Department of State. So technically, we don't believe they had the ability to conduct the contract. Now, quite curiously, when this was put out, even given the security situation on the ground and the threat there, this was an unarmed contract. It was bid to have the guards on the gate being unarmed, if you can believe that. That is pretty interesting given the fact that, the security situation, if you read some of the cables that were going back that have been released through WikiLeaks and also through Judicial Watch's email dump, it showed that the guys there on the ground, the security folks on the ground, had been desperately requesting more support, and better security for an entire year, ever since they had reestablished the mission there. As a matter of fact, 6 weeks before the attack, Ambassador Stevens had a meeting with the security team there, and they had requested, emergency requests for additional security, and said about this very compound that it could not sustain a coordinated attack. Now, that's the ambassador's own words.
All right, Brad, let me jump in a minute. Hold on just a second, Brad. Let me ask some questions here, please. Now, this might seem like a naive question to you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Why, if this is a U.S. compound, why is it not guarded by the United States military instead of contracting it out to private security companies?
Well, the reason that these are contracted out, there's a couple of reasons. One is that the U.S. military doesn't have the resources to do it. A lot of people think the Marines, the Marine security guards that are there guard that. That's not what their purpose is. The purpose of the Marines at the embassies is to guard the cryptology and the classified information. They have a secondary role to protect the ambassador and personnel, but that's not their primary. And there's not Marines at every embassy. As a matter of fact, given the constraints of the U.S. military over the last 15 years since the attacks, 9/11 attacks and all the deployments, there's just not enough resources, and honestly, they're not trained for this type of mission. I mean, there's some units like MP units that might be okay at it, but the reality is this is more like the TSA, the Transportation Security Agency style security. They walk through metal detectors, X-ray machines, search vehicles, that sort of thing. So it's just not a role that the U.S. military is a good fit for. That's one. The other is they don't have the resources. In other words, it would, if you think about the hundreds of consulates around the world, that would take a considerable amount of military resources away from their primary mission. So that's the reason it's contracted out.
Okay, now
it's just a better fit.
Another question that I've got right here, and you were alluding to it a moment ago, is why in one of the world's hot spots would our State Department ever make such an asinine, insane thought of nobody is going to be armed? That is ludicrous.
It's absolutely ludicrous. As a matter of fact, in our technical proposal we put forward, although the guards that would have literally been standing post on the station would not have been armed, our plan was to bring Katiba militia members, which are expatriates, pro-Western guys, Libyans that have grown up in UK, the United States, and Europe, who are pro-West. We were going to bring those guys to Benghazi, and we had a compound half a kilometer away from the embassy compound that we were going to have our own team there. There was also an additional U.S. component. We had 6 former Special Forces operators, which included our project manager for the project and myself there to be a quick reaction force. Now, the militia guys had the ability to have weapons. They were licensed. They had the ability to have weapons through their service. So although the guards on the gate would have been armed, half a kilometer away, we'd have had about 20 guys armed, ready to respond. Because we know this business. I mean, this is what we do for a living around the world. We know that you have to be ready for any contingency. So part of our program was we accepted the fact that the guards on the gates would be unarmed, but we would have had armed guys very close by. So you'd have to ask those contracting officers like Jan Vicentainer and Sharon James and some of the other guys that are safe in their cubicles in Rosalind, Virginia, which, oh, by the way, at the building SA-20 in Rosalind, Virginia right now, if you go there, guess what's on the door right now running the security checkpoints?
Well,
armed guards.
I would imagine.
Armed guards are there. So it's funny. They have armed guards on the building SA-20 in Rosalind, Virginia, guarding these contracting folks, but they wouldn't allow armed guards on the consulate in Benghazi where there was an actual threat from Al-Qaeda in Africa, Al-Ansar, and rogue militia units that included Chechens, which are traveling jihadists, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood traveling jihadists out of Egypt. So, again, it's asinine. It makes no sense.
Well, Brad, what is the real story about Benghazi? I mean, I'm just an old cowboy from Idaho, but I still have a very inquisitive mind as to why Benghazi was such a focal point, why there was the problem there, why there was the cover-up later on in the Obama administration with Susan Rice. Why? I don't understand still to this day why all the questions are unanswered.
Well, I think first off, and I don't want to be political, but I do believe there's a political component to this. One of the reasons that all of the questions have not been answered is because the former administration was stonewalling the investigations, and the investigations from the Republican-controlled House and Senate were, appeared to be on a witch hunt to nail Secretary Clinton. So you had guys from both sides that wanted to turn something that should have been a straightforward investigation into how these people had the opportunity to kill our guys, and turned it into something that it never should have been, which is a political football back and forth. So I don't think the truth. I know for a fact that the administration stonewalled the investigators, and they wouldn't provide names or make people available. In other words, if they found out someone was there, yeah, they could subpoena them to come in. But if the State Department won't provide names of people related to this, they had to kind of, they're just kind of feeling around in the dark when they're investigating. The purpose of the compound has been in debate. I can tell you that the purpose, the CIA has its own way of doing business. The CIA annex was attacked, and it was precisely mortared, which shows that there was somebody, there was eyes inside the wire, as we like to say. Mm-hmm. But it's a completely separate thing, and there's a lot of, it's a well-known secret out there that, they were funneling weapons and even fighters to the Syrian conflict from Libya, but that was with the full support of the Libyan government. They were trying to get as many guns and traveling jihadists out of Libya as possible to try to stabilize it. But, a lot of the conspiracy theories have the ambassador there related to that. But I can assure you that usually the ambassador has no control and very little say in what the CIA does, whether it's to be the station chief or any of their activities in the country. They operate independently. So there's a lot of conspiracy stuff floating around. I don't know the absolute truth on that because I'm not privy to it. I can just tell
Well, Brad,
when it comes to the diplomatic side versus the intelligence community.
Brad, let me ask you this question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I'm still very inquisitive as to the time lapse. And when I say time lapse, we know and have been told that the ambassador had asked for help, said they were under attack. They were worried about a very ominous attack and approach to the embassy. What was the reason for telling our troops they could have been there to help and aid and assist and probably prevented these killings? Why were they told to stand down?
Well, you know, that would be a question for the folks that were in command then. I don't have an answer for that. I do know that there were assets within 2 and 3 hours. Simply a helicopter flight from Tripoli to Benghazi is not that long. We also had assets in, we had a quick reaction force. The 173rd Airborne is based out of Italy, and they're the quick reaction airborne force. And when those guys are put on alert, they could have probably been there within a few hours. Although it was denied, there was a drone overhead. They were watching it real time. Somebody was. I'd like to see that footage released. That would be an interesting thing to watch because then we would know exactly what they were saying. So again, I try not to second guess people that are on the ground, and I try not to second guess decision makers unless I'm sitting in the room with them, in the war room, and helping make the decisions. But I will say that, you know, I can't tell you why they didn't respond, but there was assets close enough to have responded well within 3 or 4 hours. So that would be a good question for someone to finally answer.
Brad, as far as this problem with our embassy and the loss of life, I guess I'm going to ask you this question. Are there other Benghazis out there that possibly are looming for the same kind of attack and the same kind of loss of human life because the United States and the State Department basically are putting them in harm's way with no protection?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's a good point that I wanted to make, is that if you can believe it, okay, let me back up just a little bit. But let's say this is an interesting point, that this proves that the State Department knew that there was an undefended. Okay, we bid on it, and then we didn't get it. We lost it to Blue Mountain. Fast forward 6 months. 12 days before the attacks, our director of operations was in another meeting there in Roswell, Virginia. We had won the Pakistan embassy and consuls, and we were in meetings to stand it up. Jan Vicentainer, who is a contracting officer who was over the Benghazi to Libya contract, pulled him out of the meeting and asked him, could we perform in Libya? This is 12 days before the attacks. We were asked, could we come in and take over security and provide proper security? We know now, because of the WikiLeaks dumps and because of Judicial Watch, that in fact the embassy security with Blue Mountain UK and their local partner, which was formed up after they won, Blue Mountain Libya, had disintegrated. As a matter of fact, just 2 days before the attacks, Jan Vicentainer was sent a message by the Libyan group saying that they had dissolved the partnership and that Blue Mountain UK no longer had a license to operate in Benghazi. Now, that should have been a showstopper for any visits or anybody going to that compound at any point, but it wasn't. Now, so we pinged them every day. We need what's called a notice to proceed. My team got into motion, and we were ready to get people on the ground within 48 hours of them pulling the trigger on it. 12 days later, the 4 guys were killed. And I like to say their names, you know, Stevens, Smith, Doherty, and Woods, because they were human beings. These were, you know, I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe that all human life has value. But these people were also people of substance, men of substance, that had served their country. And I want to put a human face on this because I think about one of the big reasons I'm coming forward now is because, you know, after 5 years, would you believe that those contracting agents, Jan Vicentainer, Sharon James, these guys, that they are still in acquisitions management, still in the diplomatic security section of the State Department over contracting, and still making decisions right now that could lead to another Benghazi. These are the same people, and this proves this so-called deep state, right? Think about this. This proves that if you're a tenured bureaucrat inside the State Department, you can make mistakes up to and including getting people killed, and you cannot be fired. You will not be fired. In fact, one of the two has been promoted, if you can believe that. And these are people that made contracting decisions that it should be unarmed. They also made contracting decisions that the Blue Mountain folks should stay in place, even after several months before the attacks, The security was inadequate. It began to collapse. They were having problems on the ground. If they'd have called us in 1 month earlier, sir, 1 month earlier, the ambassador and those men would still be alive today because we'd have the assets on the ground to defend them properly.
Brad, let me ask you.
Hiring a professional security firm that takes their job seriously, that's American-based, and hiring some fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants small companies simply because they're the low bid.
Right.
What can Congress do? Here's another problem. Right now, Congress has a law they passed in 1990, 27 years ago. The threat posture around the world is so different today than it was 27 years ago. That law says that the State Department must go with the lowest bid that's technically acceptable. What that means is if you meet the absolute bare minimum technical capability to do the contract and you're the low bid, you get it. It creates a race to the bottom, and quality and quantity always suffers when you have that situation. Every one of these contracts should be best value, and every one of them should be based off of the security needs on the ground, not when some government bureaucrat in Roslyn, Virginia, in some cubicle thinks is best, which, oh, by the way, if you look at Benghazi, you look at Libya, every choice the contracting officers made are exactly the opposite and never take into consideration the security concerns of the men that were on the ground. The folks, the team that was on the ground was telling them, help, 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 and they were saying no, no, no. And then they send inadequate help and people die and nothing happens.
Brad, I've only got a minute and a half left here. I've got to ask you one other question. It's a speculative type question. What about Hillary Clinton? What about the emails as Secretary of State? We don't know anything about the lost emails. Are you saying that possibly, a lot of this Benghazi problem would become more known about what really happened if we had the emails?
Yes, and I'll tell you something else. Fast forward a few months after the attacks, our CEO was called back from overseas by Sharon James and Jan Visenthainer, the two contracting officers in charge of this debacle, and he was told in no uncertain terms by Jan Visenthainer that we needed to be in lockstep with them on this Benghazi thing, not to talk to the press, not to cooperate with anyone looking into this, and also she added a very ominous threat. You guys are winning a lot of contracts with us. We need you to be a team player on Benghazi, and don't say anything. Don't cooperate. We'd like to keep it that way. Now, that doesn't come from those guys. That's part of a larger cover-up. There's no way around it. So I would like to know what policymakers instructed these guys to go out and tell us to be quiet. They also told Blue Mountain. As a matter of fact, there's emails from Visenthainer to the executive of Blue Mountain telling them not to talk to the press. It's out there. I can only imagine what would be in the emails if every single email related to this by even the policymakers was released.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see it personally, because I want some justice for Benghazi, and I want the people that are responsible for these men being killed to finally be thrown out of government and fired, and the laws to be changed so that this will never happen again.
Brad Owens, you have been an excellent guest, and I really appreciate the time on my program. A person that is a security professional. God bless him. Brad Owens, come back soon. I'll have you back on the program at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Wow. Very interesting man that understands everything about what happened over in Benghazi, or what didn't have to happen over in Benghazi. Brad Owens, security professional. And why? Why did our State Department insist that the compound's guards be totally unarmed? Absolutely ridiculous. Well, we're going to have a weather forecast here real quick. Thank you, Brad Owens, for being on the program. And the weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. CPAs that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. With the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, payroll services, they really can help you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like Mother Nature is going to give us a break and no rain showers for this week, which for me is good news. Here's your weather forecast for today on Zebeth Ranch. Mostly sunny skies. High of 61. Going to be a little bit breezy. Not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 38. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 65 with an overnight low of 38. Mostly sunny and 70 for Wednesday. Looks like mid-70s for Thursday and Friday. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. Great job. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. CPAs that, like I said a moment ago, they can help you, your family, and your business. Don't forget to give them a call and set up an appointment with the absolute best. In Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow. We've got some outstanding people on the air so far. We've got some more outstanding people in the next hour. We've got Megan Barth coming on the program, and then one of my favorite people and a very good friend of mine. And she's a national spokesperson, if you will, about what's going on with Muslims and the Islamic problem in the United States, and for that matter, the world. Brigitte Gabriel is going to be here at 10:30 this morning. Don't you miss it. Want to remind you, too, about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place for your loved one, with much more one-on-one care. And they invite you to come by, take a tour, find out more about Autumn Haven. And remember, they do so much to support the local businesses, and they're the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. Oh, my goodness sakes. I got to get this note on real quick. The great big Minidoka Memorial Hospital Health Fair, Family Health Fair, is going to be this next Saturday, September 30th, from 8 to noon at the Minidoka Memorial Hospital. And they're going to have health fair profiles for just $40, all the different tests. I urge you to call and get more information, or stop over there this next Saturday from 8 to noon at the Minidoka Memorial Hospital, the Family Health Fair. Very, very important and well worth your time. Okay, let's see what else have I got cooking here. Like I said, we're going to have Megan Barth coming up at 10:06, and then, of course, Brigitte Gabriel at 10:32. Want to remind you, please take your boots. I really want to get these boots put together this next week or so, and take your boots into Lane and Rupert, the Twist family over in Paul, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and help me help the people in Texas. And if you have some tack, whether it's saddle blankets, saddle pads, bridles, whatever, that you're not using anymore, boy, they could use it. They've just really lost almost everything down there. So take it over. They've got a box at those three locations, Lane and Rupert, Twist family in Paul, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Thank you. And for those that have already contributed, God bless you. We really appreciate it. We're going to take off right now for about 7 minutes and have the CBS News. I'll be back in 7. Good morning on a Monday. Zeb at the Ranch, and thank you for tuning in. Hour number 3, and of course, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big fall tire sale right now, and also including Western Way services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. We'll have our guest with us in just a moment. I want to remind you, too, on Thursdays, we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days, and we'd really like to thank our 2 sponsors of that segment on Thursdays at 10:10, and that's, of course, A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley, and, of course, all the baby furniture and the baby clothing, everything you need for the wee ones right there at a family store, A Child's World in Burley. And also our thanks to Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgery like life-saving colonoscopies, carpal tunnel surgery, etc. They can help and they can save you money. At Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. The number to call, 677-8888. Real quick, also, we want to say thank you to Dr. Bill and the entire staff over at Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, kitty cats all the way to cattle. They love them all. So why don't you get a hold of them today? Write the number down. Give them a call, 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Yep, they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. With me on the phone right now, a lady that's been here many, many times in the past, and I hope she'll continue to consent to come on the program. Very knowledgeable. She is the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com and a nationally recognized political commentator and women's advocate, Megan Barth. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Well, not too bad. Even after the debacle of the NFL teams just absolutely showing disrespect for our flag this weekend, I'm good. I hope you are too.
I am, and I didn't witness their anti-American sentiments and protests because I didn't turn it on. If I did see a game, it just happened to be on in the background at a restaurant that I was at. And this is what's happening nationwide. What is next, Zeb? Are we going to start burning American flags on the football field as a form of protest? Maybe Antifa will have the halftime show this year. I mean, why not? Since we're going full-blown, full Monty, progressive left, then let's just go, face first, head in, make sure we bring it all the way home with Antifa doing the halftime show at Super Bowl. We had Beyonce do it last year and her dedication to the radical Black Panthers and Black Power. So at this rate, why not?
You know, it's a subject that I've been talking about all morning, but I also want to talk to you, if you don't mind. Well, we may get back to this, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what happened with Nancy Pelosi this past week, with the so-called Dreamers really kind of turning around and biting the hand that's feeding them.
Yes, and this is exactly who DACA is. This is the face of DACA. What Nancy Pelosi witnessed and what we all witnessed last week when about 40 of them got in her face and started chanting and screaming and calling her a liar. This is the face of DACA. I refer to DACA as Democrat activists and con artists. The Democrats want us to believe that they're just children. They're just babies. They can't be torn from their family. Well, that's an absolute outright lie, because DACA was passed by executive order as a work authorization, meaning that the average age of DACA recipients are 26 years old. They are millennials. They have no interest or have had no interest in the last 20 years or so of finding a way or a path to citizenship. So now they're just demanding not only are they supposed to be given amnesty, the 800,000 of them, they're demanding that all 11 million illegal aliens in this country should be given amnesty. And this is exactly the chain migration that the Democrats want. And then what's going to happen, should the moderate Republicans bend and capitulate and give the 11 million amnesty, and really, do we know it's 11 million? No, we don't, because they're undocumented. It's probably more like 22 million, because if you look at the ITIN numbers that the IRS has given out, and ITIN numbers are specifically given to illegal aliens so they can work and pay taxes, the ITIN numbers total about 22 million. So this is what the Democrats want. And then the next argument from the Democrats is going to be, but these people have lived here so long, they've become a part of our fabric of our society. They pay taxes. They should vote. And that's what's headed. That's where we're headed.
You know, Megan, I watched on television last week, and over at the main studio, Wheels watched the feedback on this. I watched on television as they were interviewing some of the dreamers and some of the proponents for the DREAM Act to be continued. And I got to tell you, all it did was make my blood pressure go up to about 200 over 100, because they were making demands of what we should do for them. They're here illegally, and I'm telling you something, I say nothing should be given to these people until they leave, come back, and apply for legal citizenship. We owe them nothing.
Yeah, we owe them absolutely nothing, and they'll like it. they have had a problem. For example, Zeb, we have a dreamer here in Nevada by the name of Astrid Silva. She's 28 years old. She was brought here when she was 4. She met Harry Reid when she was 5. She refers to him as her abuelito, her grandfather. In the 20 or so years that he held office as a senior senator, he didn't help her gain citizenship. Why not? But she has no time to find a way to become a citizen of this country, Miss Astrid Silva. But she can fly to the Democrat National Convention and be one of the keynote speakers on the stage at the DNC convention. Hillary Clinton can tap her to get out the vote in Nevada. Do you want to talk about foreigners interfering in our election? It's not the Russians, it's the dreamers. There are a bunch of Democrat activists, a majority of them, who want nothing more than to gain, not gain citizenship, but like you said, demand that we give them everything, and in exchange, they'll vote Democrat.
You know, where are we on this problem, Megan? Because right now I see this United States as divided that it has ever been with race and various problems. It's worse, I think, now than it was in the 60s during Selma, Alabama, and I think it's going to get a lot worse. Where are we, in your opinion?
Well, this is the effect of a community organizer. This is what community organizers do. They agitate and they divide. They don't organize communities for the better. They agitate and divide. And so after the spiteful rhetoric of the last 8 years of that administration, the cops acted stupidly. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Always spoke through a lens of race. Not as one America, not as red America or blue America. I mean, it sounded really good when Obama was campaigning. He saw us as a united country. But once he got in there, he did everything he could through policy as well as optics to divide this country. He had Black Lives Matter in the White House nearly 24 times. They have infiltrated policy related to policing. And where they have infiltrated policy, for example, Baltimore and Chicago, you see the highest murder rates. Black Lives Matter does not care about all black lives. They are a political operation that seeks to further divide this country. We are seeing it on the football field right now. We are seeing the black power fists in the air. And this is all of the undoing of this country. When you look at the manifesto of the Democrats, they have to basically destroy the family. They have to destroy religion, and they have to destroy the flag of this country, patriotism. And they're doing a real good job at it.
You know, you really bring up an interesting point that we talked about also in the first hour, is because of the fact that everybody has a story. Every person has had to undergo perhaps some really tough times in their life and try to overcome those hard times, myself included, and make something of themselves with the talent that God gave them. But what right now, how can you respect these multi-million-dollar athletes kneeling during our national anthem and then the media saying, oh, well, they had a hard upbringing. We should be more sympathetic to their plight. I can't do it and I won't.
The football field is not a place for protest. The football field was once a place for entertainment and sports. And it was kind of fun to watch.
That's right.
I used to watch every Sunday. It was a tradition of mine with my dad. No longer. The Democrats have destroyed that tradition. Thank you very much. The Democrats will not be happy until everyone shares in their misery. Equal misery for all. They do not like this country. They wanted to fundamentally transform this country when they elected Barack Obama, and they did a pretty good job at that. They always want to change this country, and by revising their own history. And so the further the left goes, the more chances that Trump will win in 2020. Because Americans don't want to see players kneeling during the national anthem. Most Americans don't. Most Americans simply want to be entertained on Sunday. They don't want to be lectured to on a Sunday. And so now that politics has now infiltrated America's favorite pastime, people are turning it off. I just am reading a headline on Drudge that the ratings are down again.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on how Roger Goodall, if he wants to save his organization, he needs to take the politics out of it. And if these players want to protest, take it to the street.
Well, the other thing, too, is, Megan, that these people are protesting on private property. They're protesting against private business, and I put the onus on the owners for not having the backbone, or other words, to make it a tough situation. You will do it my way, or you will play someplace else.
And they could easily do that. From what I understand is that the owner of the Cowboys basically has said in the locker room, Jerry Jones, that you will not kneel, you will stand during the national anthem. If you kneel, you're out. So I think they're playing tonight. We're going to see if that holds true. But these are private, basically, corporations. The owners can have full say over how their employees act. And, oh, by the way, many of these football fields are taxpayer-funded.
That's right.
So, you know, the owners are going to have to think pretty hard about where their money is coming from, who their fan base is, and how much more money they want to lose until they start speaking up and speaking out against politics and football. I knew, Zeb, that football was on a decline, and it was doomed when we started going pink. And not just one day in October, the whole entire month in October now, I have to be reminded of cancer.
Right.
I don't want to think about cancer when I'm watching football. And we can think about cancer, but you can't memorialize 5 dead cops who were gunned down by a BLM activist by wearing like a patch on your uniform. That wasn't allowed by Roger Goodell, but now we can kneel. Like I said, burning the American flag going to be next?
You know, I want you to emphasize a little bit about the approach of the media yesterday, and especially like NBC's Chris Collinsworth, when he was asked about the situation of the kneeling and the disrespect for our flag. He turned it around and said, I think President Trump should apologize for demanding the firings of these SOBs. And quite frankly, Megan, I agree with Trump. I think anybody that disrespects our flag and its private ownership, they should be fired.
And I don't disagree either. I'm glad that these sports commentators all have political comments now to make and are making demands of this president. Again, the left will not be happy until we all equally share in their misery and their disdain for this country. Now we've got politics in football and in all sports and pretty much wherever you look, and simply because politics is downstream from culture. This is a culture war. What Donald Trump said in Alabama the other night by having the NFL owners fire the players, he's only speaking what most of us have been thinking for over a year.
That's right.
Cap took a knee
yes.
on the 49ers field. Many of us, many Americans, red-blooded Americans, were outraged that he was kneeling. Trump says what his base is thinking.
You know, along with this problem and the NFL and the total disrespect for our country, is there any hope left that we can get a system of moral values in this country again and respect for what the forefathers and our soldiers have fought and died for?
Well, I think some of it is just a lost cause. I mean, you know, the progressives are just a miserable lot. Like I said, they would rather tear down this country and divide this country instead of unify behind this president. They continually castigate and shun anyone who doesn't think like them.
Right.
As a woman, I need to believe in abortion and vote for Hillary Clinton in order to be a Democrat. I could not be a pro-life Democrat anymore, according to Tom Perez. And so as further left the Democrat Party goes, and then the more they will lose, because they are not going to identify with the majority of Americans who vote and who love this country. They are going to divide themselves into a continual minority party. And then when you look at culture, you have to look at the black family. And when you have a 70% abortion rate amongst blacks, and you have a 70% single mother rate without a father in the home, about 60% actually, there's a problem. And it's not because cops are shooting the fathers. It's because the fathers are shooting other fathers. And so it's a dichotomy that only those within those communities can solve. Throwing money at it, blaming Whitey, blaming everybody else for your problems is not going to solve that cultural problem. As long as they continue to elect Democrats for decades, you look at Chicago, 80 years of Democrat rule, Detroit, 70 years of Democrat rule, St. Louis, 70 years, Baltimore, 60 years, and a list goes on and on. You see the biggest amount of crime, the biggest amount of black-on-black crime and violence, drugs, and the lack of educational opportunities, the worst schools. That is going to have to somehow be changed, and it can only be changed not through a community organizer like Barack Obama, but from at the ballot box electing, somebody different than a Democrat.
Absolutely.
Like Donald Trump said, what do you got to lose?
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, I'm almost out of time. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, but since Roe versus Wade, there's been 50 million black babies aborted in America, and it's been some astronomical number. And when they talk about Black Lives Matter, I says black mothers made these decisions, and I don't know that they were coerced into doing so. One more quick point. The NASCAR owners said if their crews were to stand on their kneel during the anthem, they would be fired. I'll hang up.
Megan, respond, please.
I'm not sure of the exact number, but it is in the tens of millions. We have to understand what Roe v. Wade was based upon, and that was basically eugenics. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it best to the New York Times. She thought at the time that Roe v. Wade was passed, it was to get rid of certain populations. That is a quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so this is who the left is. They are Margaret Sanger acolytes, who was a eugenicist, who was the founder or at least the model of Planned Parenthood. But this type of conditioning over decades is going to take a lot of undoing if it can be undone.
I absolutely enjoy having you on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, she is the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com, nationally recognized political commentator. Megan, you're the best. Thank you so much for being on the program. Come back soon.
Anytime, Zeb. Thanks for having me.
Megan Barth. I love that lady on the program because she tells it like it is, doesn't hedge, and gives you the honest, straight answers. Thank you very much. Oh, we got to pay some bills here real quick. I'm sorry, I've got a problem with my throat this morning, and I've been going on and off with a cold for the last 3 weeks, so bear with me. I want to remind you about Scott Jackson Trucking. Yes, you can work for the Scott Jackson family, and they would love you to give a call right now to their number and become a member of their Scott Jackson team. The number to call, 324-3004. They are fully licensed and insured to haul in the Pacific Northwest and Canada, and in Magic Valley, look to Scott Jackson Trucking for all your development, commodities hauling, flatbed hauling, truck repair, excavation, and loader accessory fabrication. They are the best at what they do. The industry leader, Scott Jackson Trucking in Jerome. The number to call for your employment opportunities, 324-3004. Scott Jackson Trucking. Want to remind you that it's not going to be too much longer, and we're all going to be huddled up in our coats and not wanting to go outside. Well, you want to be comfortable inside, and I've got some ideas for you. All you need to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox Home Comfort Systems, and you can be warm and cozy. That's right, and you might qualify to get up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox Home Comfort System. What do? You call them at 678-0459. Call them today. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, serving you. You give them a jingle today. Coming up next half hour is a lady that I absolutely have the utmost respect for. She has written many, many books. One of my favorite is Because They Hate. And we're going to be talking about Islam and Muslim influence coming into this country and what's happened to America since 9/11. All of that coming up at about 10:32 this morning with Brigitte Gabriel. And I'm really looking forward to having my friend back on the air. While we have just a moment, too, I want to remind everybody about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Now, here's the telephone number to call, 436-3200. Write it down. 436-3200. Now, they are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cache area, and they really are more able than not to provide a lot more one-on-one care for your family member that needs that little extra assistance. So please get a hold of them today. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. Stop in, take a tour, and remember their address. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. Now, they're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Want to remind you again about that family health fair that is going on this coming Saturday from 8 to noon at the Minidoka Memorial Hospital. And they're presenting this family health fair. And the profile is $40, and they're going to have tests on your thyroid, PSA blood tests. They're going to have all kinds of different tests. And it's really for you to find out more about your health. So try to make that if you can. Minidoka Memorial Hospital having their family health fair, and it's going to be from 8 to noon this coming Saturday at Minidoka Memorial Hospital. We're going to take a little break. I'm going to try to get that old frog out of my throat, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. And there are many, many people that I have on this program every week, but there are few that I absolutely keep calling back all the time to come on my program. This lady is not only just a great guest on my program, but she's also a friend, and I absolutely admire what she's done to try to alert America as to how dangerous Islam is. And she's the author of the book called They Must Be Stopped and president of Act for America. And I proudly reintroduce my friend Brigitte Gabriel. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Zeb. I'm delighted to be back with you.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I'd like to start off our program this morning by asking you this. Act for America. What does that mean exactly, and what does your organization do?
Well, Act for America was founded after September 11th to mobilize and inspire Americans to stand up in defense of our liberty, our security, and our values. And I'm proud to tell you that Act for America today is the largest national security grassroots organization with over 750,000 members and 1,000 chapters nationwide.
Wow.
So I tell people we are the NRA of national security. We're mobilizing the nation to stand up in defense of our freedoms.
You know, Brigitte, as you well know, wherever you go, people are still, whether they're involved in the media or they're just liberals, they absolutely don't like you. They don't like what you stand for. They don't like me and what I stand for. Is it getting worse, or are you making inroads and people are understanding that we've got a real problem here in America?
More and more people, Zeb, are waking up to realize we do have a real problem in America, and they don't have to listen to you and me talking about the problem. All they have to do is watch television and see what's happening in Europe, all the terrorist attacks that are being reported. You cannot go 1 week without hearing something about a terrorist attack happening somewhere around the world, with people either victimized, suicide bombers blowing themselves up, people being stabbed, and it has become irrational
regular occurrence in our day-to-day, especially with 24-hour news and news cables, whether it's CNN, Sky News, Fox News. It doesn't matter what you're watching. You are hearing about terrorism around the world. And one thing our base is realizing, Zeb, is we are not in a be-liked competition. This is not about being liked or being approved of or whether the leftist media agrees with us or not. We are truly fighting for the soul of our country. And this is why Americans who feel in their gut that there is something going wrong with our country, that something does not feel right in the way our nation or our citizens feel secure or not, feel free or not, and those people who are feeling this feeling in their gut need to realize that what you are feeling is correct. America is changing before our own eyes, and that's why patriotic Americans who love this country need to stand up and come together in defense of our freedoms. And I encourage everyone watching or listening, if this message resonates with you, go to our website, actforamerica.org, and sign up to join us. Become a member. Become an activist. Start your own chapter or your own group. We are here to mobilize the nation, and we need you by our side.
You know, Brigitte, let me ask you this. Are we really a naive nation? Everybody that comes here we think is going to be for the country's good? Or is it part of a sinister plot to basically dumb us down and then all of a sudden it's too late?
It is both. We have become a society that is very comfortable. Americans have had it so easy for a very long time. Look, after World War II, Zeb, most people did not really experience war in this country. They don't. The military understands it because our military men and women, are out there fighting. But people who are raised in this country without a worry in the world, our poorest of the poor, are rich compared to the way other people live in other countries. And so we have had it easy, and we do not understand that there are evil people, mean people in this world who wish to do us harm. You know, there is a saying overseas when you leave America, and it is said in cultures across the world, Americans are called fat, dumb, and happy. That's what they call Americans. Mm-hmm. And because in America we have an abundance of everything, we have no worry, we have a lot of food to eat, we have roofs over our heads, we have air conditioning and heating, etc. So a lot of people in this country just don't get it. Those who do get it, and the country right now is divided, are realizing that we do have a problem, and we are fighting for the soul of the country. And those of us who do realize that there's a problem are trying to warn others who are not listening to us, but they are in their good-heartedness or their naivete would wish to listen to CARE, for example, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a front organization for Hamas in the United States. It's a terror group masquerading as a human rights organization. And you have also the complicit media that has been completely brainwashed by the leftists at our universities for the last quarter of a century, who are now buying lock, stock, and barrel into everything the Islamists are saying and the radicals are saying. And we basically have a perfect storm brewing to endanger our country, and we are now starting to walk down the same path Europe started walking down 2 decades ago, and now we see what's happening in Europe, and we better wake up here.
You know, Brigitte, I just saw a bumper sticker the other day on the back of a car that said, "Welcome refugees," and I'm just the opposite, because right now I'm very concerned for my family and their welfare and all of my friends and neighbors in this country, because there is not a vetting process, according to some of the many professionals I've had on this program, that is anywhere close to telling us who these people are or why they're here. Am I worrying needlessly?
No, you are not worrying needlessly. Look, Zeb, ISIS already came out and said on video last year that they have embedded 4,000 ISIS operatives within the refugee population in Europe to come to the West and carry out terrorist attacks in the West. Our enemy is telling us exactly what they're doing, what their aim is, what their plan is, what they're doing to accomplish their plan. We, on the other hand, are burying our head in the sand, refusing to listen. And that's what's happening in America today. Listen, we have a big heart. We are a compassionate nation. We want to help people. But we have to realize that we are at a time in our nation where we are looking at refugees, where we are already seeing the writing on the wall. We're already seeing the evidence. Look, in Europe, in the last year alone, simply because of the refugee influx into Europe in the last year, and I'm not going to look past 360 days. Let's just look at the last 365 days. And let's look at what's happened and how many terrorist attacks happened in Europe perpetrated by refugees. When you look at the Belgium bombing, when you look at the Germany bombing, when you look at the Paris bombing, when you look at the Spain bombing, when you look at the London bombings, every single one of these bombings were perpetrated by a refugee. Every single one of them. So being concerned about ISIS being truthful in saying that they have embedded ISIS operatives within the refugee population, and seeing how these operatives have already committed terrorist attacks in Europe, this is not speculation anymore. This is not an opinion. This is facts, and we are seeing the words of our enemies appearing before our own eyes. That's why we must be careful in America, and this is why the president is saying, let's vet refugees. Let's make sure they are vetted properly so we know who's coming into the country, so we can protect the country. And he is justified in doing so based strictly on the facts that we have been looking at in Europe.
Absolutely. Brigitte, we have a call. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Quickly, please.
Yes, just the other day was an election in Germany, and Angela Merkel, if it wasn't for the way their elections were held, and they have the so-called deep state embedded people that protected her, I don't think she would have actually gotten reelected. And somehow she's weaseled her way back in there. But I guarantee you, if things don't get better, and I don't see how they're going to, she will not get reelected again. I'll hang up.
Brigitte, respond, please.
Germany just committed suicide. Germany was on the way of dying under Angela Merkel, and at this point, the country is completely lost. You know, I was watching television a few days ago, and I was watching, a Nazi movie about the Nazis and Germany, and I could not believe how far Germany has changed. And it happened in our lifetime, within one generation. This is why we fight for freedom in America. This is why we say freedom is only one generation away. This is why we cannot squander it. We have to fight for it. And in Germany right now, they have taken so many refugees into the country, over 1 million, that they cannot reverse the tide right now. They cannot get them out. They are embedded in there. They are bringing their family members. They are forming their own little tribes within their own cities, within their own communities, and basically literally are influencing election because the people are afraid. Plus the people, again, the brainwashing in Europe right now. Remember, and you and I have discussed this, Zeb, about the Muslim Brotherhood plan, which was written in 1982 and began being implemented in Europe. So when you look at the 80s, 90s, 2000, and here we are almost 40 years plus later, now you are seeing the results of what the Islamists carried through in their action plan to Islamize Europe and Islamize the world. We're seeing it happen before our own eyes.
You know, Brigitte, one of the things that I think, two things actually, that I think we have to rectify, or this country is never going to change for the better, and that's the liberal politicians and the very liberal media. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The liberal politicians and the liberal media is really getting us in trouble because right now the liberal media is basically carrying the water for the terrorists. When they report on terrorist activities without even identifying, or even saying it was a terrorist attack until you have to pull it out of their mouth after all the reports come out and say this guy's name was Ahmed, he was a refugee, he screamed Allahu Akbar, he stabbed people, he said he's a sympathizer of ISIS, and the leftist media still reports saying, well, we do not know what's the motive of this person who committed this crime. So you have the leftist media who is refusing to report the truth to the American people. And you have people in America today, especially the majority of the young millennials, who basically get their evening news from the comedy channels, from Comedy Central. And they take that as facts. And their idols are Hollywood celebrities who do not know their head from their toe when it comes to world affairs because they're not paying attention to world affairs. They are the epitome of what a snowflake is all about. And these are the leaders that the millennials are following. And this is why we are seeing the problem in the country, and this is why we are seeing weak-kneed leftist politicians who want to get reelected, who care only about their positions, basically listening to the news, watching what the millennials, watching what the leftists are saying, want to get reelected by the leftists, and they are impacting policy. And again, I bring it back to the action of the citizens. This is why the citizens must become engaged in this country, who love this country, who want to protect America and preserve it in the way in which our founding fathers envisioned it to be. Now is the time for people to become engaged, to act, to get involved, to start sending letters to the president, to start calling their elected officials. And we make it easy for them. And I encourage people to go to our website, actforamerica.org. Check out our advocacy tab. Look at all the bills that are now in Congress coming down for a vote. Call your elected officials about these bills. Become a voice affecting your community and our nation. Sign up to receive our emails and action alerts. That's how we're going to have a chance to turn the tide around and save our country.
Brigitte, let me ask you about Donald Trump as President of the United States and the implementation of the travel ban, originally with 6 countries, now being expanded to 8. Your thoughts? He is being hammered again in the news media, but I salute him for what he's doing.
I salute him for what he's doing as well, and he shouldn't be hammered in the leftist stream media. Again, the media do not know what they're talking about. When you look at Venezuela, for example, they added Venezuela. Venezuela has become a hub to Hezbollah right now. It has become a hub to Islamists, to Hezbollah, as we know, is the proxy army for Iran. We know exactly what Iran's intention against America. So when we have countries who are harboring terrorists, who are providing haven for terrorists, who are funding terrorists, this is why we are vetting people coming from these countries, because we know there are plans and process in order to send terrorist operatives into our country to do harm. And we have to do whatever we need to do to vet those who are coming into the country. And for those who say, oh, this is a Muslim ban because he is anti-Muslim, well, obviously Venezuela is not an Islamist country. This is why it is important to understand that we are talking about protecting America from terrorists and terrorist operatives who want to come here to do us harm. This is not about religion. This is not about race. This is about protecting America and the lives of the American people.
You know, the public and the media have said and done things against this president and his administration that I never thought we would hear in the media, especially from a sitting Missouri state senator like Maria Chappelle-Nadal, when she actually encouraged the assassination of President Donald Trump. I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit.
It is shocking that somebody like her, who is a sitting senator, will still be in her seat, in her state, despite the fact that she called for the assassination for the president. Who would have thought we're going to get to a day in America where we're going to be at this point? You know, in the old days, it used to be that you have the right and you have the left and you have everybody in the middle, but it didn't matter how much we disagreed on issues. At least we did not call for the killing of people or the assassination of people or laughing, making fun as comedy, the decapitation of our president, and showing that on television network. But we have been desensitized as citizens, and we have become to resent each other as citizens to the point where it is very dangerous for the country, and that is shameful. And I hope that the people, and this is something that we're working very hard at Act for America, is mobilizing citizens who have people like that representing them to mobilize in their community and demand or either that elected official be impeached or resign, or get somebody to run against them. Organize as citizens in your community, form your own group, get somebody from your own group to run, and let's support candidates who love this country and who want to uphold it in the way it was envisioned by our founding fathers. Now is the time to really get off the sideline and become engaged, because listening to talk radio and getting informed is not enough. We named the organization Act for America. Not think about America, not wish for America, not hope for America, but act for America. Because if you listen to this interview without taking action, you have just been entertained. You might as well be watching Dancing with the Stars. We need people to take action in order to take back the country.
Brigitte, final thought, and it's a speculative type question, but I'm going to ask you because I think you can look into the crystal ball better than anyone. If we don't change and stop the course that we're on now in America, where do you think we'll be in 10 years?
Oh, my goodness. I would hate to think that. Look how worse off we are after 8 years of President Obama. Who would have thought we were going to have all this damage done in a matter of 8 years? But the country will not survive unless we turn America around. The country, what kept America together is our unity as Americans. Again, it didn't matter how much we disagreed with each other, but we all agreed that we love America. We all stood and sang the national anthem and at least respected the flag and respected the national anthem. That is defraying right now. The heart of the country is defraying right now. We need to come together. And again, this is why, they say squeaky wheel gets the oil. A lot of my friends ask me, how did Antifa get to this point? How did the left get to this point? How did the environmentalists get to this point? I tell them because a lot of people who love this country sat on the sidelines and shook their heads and thinking, I cannot believe how crazy the left has become. And that's all they did. It's time to stop talking and complaining to our neighbor, and it's time to take action. Because, again, if we don't take action now, in 10 years, the country will be unrecognizable. And when I look at what happened, the change is 16 years since September 11th, Zeb. And I'm using September 11th because we just celebrated September 11th memory this month after 16 years. When you look back at how we were united as a nation, everybody flew their American flag. We were so proud of our country. People put their American flag on their cars. People bought American flag clothing and wore jackets and pants and T-shirts that depicted the American flag. Look at where we are today. Yesterday, over this weekend, you have NFL. You have politics into sports, where players who used to be looked at as idols and respected now disrespect the American flag and disrespect our national anthem, and that's a tragedy.
I love this lady, and she is the president of actforamerica.org and also the author of many great books, including They Must Be Stopped. Brigitte Gabriel, God bless you, my friend, and come back soon.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.
God bless. Thank you. I just think the world of that lady. I had a chance to meet her personally up in Caldwell about 2 years ago. And we've been friends on the radio, talking back and forth many, many times. But she is just absolutely a very, very nice lady. Brigitte Gabriel, thank you for being on the program this morning. Holy cow, I've got to get a weather forecast on here, and the weather's brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call is 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats. Oh, boy, we had Don on the air with us last week, and he was telling us all about their delicious retail meat department. You get on over there, 331 North Road, Jerome, Scarrows Meats, serving you. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like Mother Nature is going to give us a break and no rain showers for this week, which for me is good news. Here's your weather forecast for today on Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies. High of 61. Going to be a little bit breezy. Not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 38. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 65 with an overnight low of 38. Mostly sunny and 70 for Wednesday. Looks like mid-70s for Thursday and Friday. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, she does a great job. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Scarrows Meats, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number, 324-7657. I urge you to get on over there or give them a call because they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. Woo! Wow! We had some great people on the air this morning and great guests talking about the problems of the day. Let's take a look here and see what we've got planned for tomorrow. I am hoping, and I've got a question mark by this, that we can get Dr. Dennis Durrell on the air tomorrow talking about the replacement of Obamacare. And Dr. History is going to be here. And then we're going to have the Pacific Legal Foundation on the air. And they're going to be talking about how Minnesota wants to impose a dress code when you go to vote. I can't wait to hear this story tomorrow. All of that and more. And I want to wrap up the program this morning by saying that we really, really would appreciate if you would take boots that you're not wearing that are in good shape. And believe me, we've got a lot of good boots. As a matter of fact, we got even some brand new ones donated. And we are very blessed to have 3 drop-off points. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, the Twist family in Paul, and Randy on Overland and Burley. And already we've got quite a few boots already lined up and picked up, and we're waiting to get more this week. And we've got a lot of horse tack like bits and bridles and saddle pads. What else, Deanne?
Randy and Twist, they've got boots waiting.
Oh, they've got more boots waiting for us? God bless all of you. We really appreciate it because we got a truck and a trailer going down to the greater Houston area, as a matter of fact, in about 2 weeks, and we're going to make deliveries. We've talked to some of the ag people down there with the FFA and 4-H and farm organizations, and they have lost everything. All their boots, everything, all their saddles, tack. So anything you can help us with, we would really appreciate it. So Lane and Rupert, the Twist family in Paul, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Thank you. Speaking of which, that, of course, mentions our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a big fall tire sale going on right now. All your passenger car tires, pickup and SUV tires. Doing the right thing matters all the time at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. So get in there today, the big fall tire sale going on. Check out all the tires you need, along with the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. Be sure and have that battery tested. Maybe your battery's not going to turn that engine over when it gets cold. You don't want to be stranded. Check it out. They've got great batteries at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you very much. Okay, until tomorrow at 806 Zebeth Ranch, we hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, we always say, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. See you tomorrow morning at 806.